the far northern reaches of our globe, on the cusp of the Arctic Circle, lies a realm that seems conjured from a dream. Svalbard's dramatic, snow-swept landscape and drifting icebergs are home to some of the world's most mystical creatures. Embarking on an 11-day expedition, we set out to uncover the magic of this otherworldly land. For the first 5 days, we cruised through the southern fjords aboard the ocean Albatross, and here's how it went.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to Svalbard. Svalbard is a Norwegian island group that's way up in the Arctic Circle. We're probably just about 800 miles from the North Pole, and it's home to the world's most northern city, Longyearbyen, which is home to just about 2,600 people or so that work here in different industries such as science, tourism, and some mining. And I'm up here partnering with Follow the Fro Tours and Ocean Albatross on a 10-day cruise where we're gonna go around some of the outer islands of Svalbard here, checking out some of the dramatic, remote, rugged landscape of these snow-capped mountains up here. We're gonna be looking for some of the native wildlife like polar bears and walruses and reindeer. And I'm super excited to explore this area, and I'm excited to take you guys along and show you just this really unique, remote region of the world. And being so far north, the sun doesn't set for 5 months, so we're here during the midnight sun. So all throughout the day and the night, the sun is gonna be shining and it'll never get dark here. So that'll be a really interesting aspect to this trip, is just having light the whole day. So the first 5 days of the trip, we're gonna do a southern route of the Svalbard archipelago, checking out some of the southern regions of the islands, and then we're gonna come back here to Longyearbyen, and then we're gonna do another 5 days heading up to some of the northern parts. So we're gonna embark on the expedition soon, heading to the boat, but first we have just an hour or two here to check out Longyearbyen, which is this colorful little village. Again, it's the most northern town in the world, so you have the most northern grocery store and most northern shops and post offices, and it just feels like this remote, rugged outpost. So we're just gonna do a quick walk through town, and then we'll head to the boat to start our expedition. So that was just a quick walk around Longyearbyen, the most northern city in the entire world. It's actually a little bit bigger than I thought. You have a lot of these colorful houses that just roll up into the hills there, but the downtown area is just one main street, has a grocery store, a couple shops, so if you forget some things, you can stock up on some warm weather gear, and there's a couple pubs, cafes, some cool museums to check out. But it is about 4 o'clock, so I'm gonna head down to the water here and get on our boat that's gonna be home the next 10 or 11 days and start the expedition. So let's go. Just did my first little Zodiac cruise, and we've checked in, gotten our room key, and I've just seen the room for the first time. And you walk right through the bedroom, and then you open up to your own little private porch here. And right now we're just looking at the harbor of Longyearbyen, but I can imagine some of the views we're gonna be having from this balcony. This is beautiful. And so anyways, we're gonna check in. I think they have some welcome drinks. There's gonna be a little orientation, and then eventually I'm gonna give you a little tour of the boat. But this is just so cool. It's like a little mini cruise ship that we're gonna be on the next 10 or 11 days. So yeah, amazing. just had our little safety briefing and intro to the ship here. And again, we're gonna be doing a southern tour the first 5 days. And because it's sunny all day and you never know what the weather's gonna be like, it sounds like every day is just kind of flexible and you never know what wildlife you're gonna see. But every day at the reception, they'll have a bit of an itinerary of some of the places that we're planning to go. And then when there's wildlife sightings, there'll be like an alarm system that'll let you know where to look outside the ship here. And now I've just gone on a little bit of a walking tour of the ship here, but it's like a mini cruise ship. You have this deck up here that has some seating. There's a little dining room area. There's like a lobby bar and a library area, lots of sitting areas, really nice looking interior. Very excited to be on here the next couple days. And pretty soon we're gonna be leaving and starting our journey, leaving the little harbor of Longyearbyen and starting the expedition. So yeah, I guess I don't really know what's next. The schedule is just dependent on weather and what we see along the way. So I'll let you guys know what's the first thing that we see on our expedition. Good afternoon, guys. It is our second day on the Albatross expedition, and we've come to the southernmost fjord called Hornsund, and we've dropped anchor here, and we are just surrounded by these incredible snow-capped mountains. We have some glaciers off in the distance. We have these misty clouds running through some of the peaks, and it was just an amazing ride here. And again, just all through the night, it was bright out. We came out to the hot tub at about midnight and it was still nice and sunny outside. It was really fascinating how the sun just never sets here. So anyways, we've dropped anchor here and they've dropped some of the Zodiacs in the water, and there are going to be some scouts that are going to go out and look for some landing sites for us and also make sure that there's no polar bears. And we also have the captain's deck. They have some people with binoculars in there that are looking for different wildlife for us to see as well. So they're doing a little bit of a scouting expedition because this afternoon we're going to get in the Zodiacs ourselves and go to one of the landing sites here and get to walk around amongst some of these dramatic landscapes in the southern fjords of Svalbard. The Zodiacs just went out and did their little scouting mission looking for a landing spot, but it sounds like we won't be able to do a landing this afternoon for whatever reason. And so instead we're gonna do a Zodiac cruise. So pretty soon there's a bunch of different groups, so we might be one of the later groups, but we'll be suiting up in all of our stuff, heading down to the mudroom, and then we'll be going out on the boat and cruising right along the coastline of some of these fjords. we've just taken the Zodiac out a little bit through the bay here, and we've come to some of our first ice here that's just sitting right at the edge of the glacier, right beneath these beautiful snow-capped mountains. Just returned from our hour-and-a-half Zodiac cruise, and again, that was our first expedition here on the boat, and we were in this beautiful bay that we're just surrounded by these incredible mountains, and we cruised over there to some of the ice patches that are coming down from the glacier. So we had this frozen ice, and we saw some guillemots, some of these blackbirds that look like penguins, some other gulls flying around some of these peaks. And then yeah, just getting really up close to that ice. And then on the Zodiac, you're like right above the water, so you can get splashed a little bit by this Arctic water. And yeah, just really cool viewing experience, and just being out on the water, getting some nice views. Anyways, this evening we are supposed to have a kayaking tour that we're gonna do after dinner. So that'll be another really interesting expedition, getting out onto the water, and hopefully I'll be able to show you guys that a little bit later. So yeah, we're gonna enjoy dinner, enjoy the boat, and see you in a little bit when we go kayaking. We just had dinner overlooking this beautiful glacier. We're still in the bay area that we were this afternoon, but we've moved around a little bit. And this evening, instead of kayaking, the captain said we found a really good opportunity to do another Zodiac trip. So we're gonna jump back on the boats this evening. It's about 8:30, but it feels like it's like 4 in the afternoon or something. We still have the sun high in the sky here, and we're gonna go on one of the boats and cruise around some of the fjords here, get up close to some of the glaciers and some of the mountains here. So we gotta suit up, get all of our waterproof gear back on, and head out on the Zodiac for the evening. So yeah, let's go.
It was all joined up, and it's all been eroded in the last 16 million years. So when you start thinking about this lot being stable, it's not. And the forces that are operating are just beyond our comprehension. Look at that rock over there. And it was absolutely flat. Look at it now, bent right up. What are the forces that were operating to lift that up that way? We think we're pretty cool when we get a 50-ton truck in a mine. Try 5 trillion tons.
Just about 10 p.m. here, and we just finished our evening Zodiac cruise. Kind of floated along some of the edges of the polar ice fields that we have here right against the boat, and then probably just about a mile or so we have these glaciers way off in the distance here and just these incredible mountain peaks. So anyways, that was our second expedition for the day, so that's about it. And again, it's 10 p.m. It feels like it's like the middle of the afternoon. It's just crazy, these like blue skies and incredible views. So we're gonna probably just hang out on the ship the rest of the evening, and then tomorrow we had a debriefing meeting earlier in the afternoon, and they showed us that we're gonna go even further south and then come up another little passage of Svalbard that's supposed to have a lot of polar ice that we're going to be kind of cutting and weaving through. So should be a pretty cool, scenic, epic day tomorrow. So yeah, we're going to hang out and enjoy the midnight sun all night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on one of our expeditions here in Svalbard. Good morning, guys. It is day 3 on the Albatross expedition here, and at 9 in the morning we're going to take a little bridge tour, and that's like the captain's quarter and where the operations of the ship happen. So they're going to take us on a little tour and get to see how the ship actually operates. And one kind of cool thing about the boat here is it's an open bridge policy, so at any time you can go in and see what the captain's doing, and yeah, get an inside look into how the ship operates. But we're gonna do a little bit of a guided tour this morning to get to see and hear a little bit about what all the buttons and all the screens they're looking for as they're navigating the ship here through these Arctic waters. We were just in the captain's quarters in the bridge there, getting an overview of all the operations of the ship, and it's amazing. And then we were going right next to this polar ice, and he was like, hey, you want to see what it's like to go through polar ice? So he steered the ship over here, and now we're just kind of cutting right through these giant icebergs and these ice sheets here. Beautiful. Our ship is just going through this massive ice field here, and there's just these tons of these sheets of ice, and then there's this deep blue color underneath, and the ship's just like plowing through them. Absolutely beautiful. We're gonna go down to the 5th floor deck, and we're gonna be right above some of the ice, get a closer look at it, but this has just been amazing. We've had a very chill morning on the ship here. It's been really nice sitting in some of the nice rooms and lounges that they have and just watching all of this polar ice drift by. And it's 12:30 now, and we've been invited up to the top deck here, and we're having a barbecue up on the top of the ship here as we just continue watching this landscape go by. We have just finished up our barbecue lunch on the deck, and that was so nice, just sitting right on the edge, and you're just watching ice float by as you're eating your barbecue pork ribs. And we had some hot glühwein to keep us warm as we're watching the ice just float by. And as we were sitting there too, we saw our first major wildlife sighting. We saw walruses that were just right beneath where we were eating lunch, and it was just incredible to see them swim through the ice there. So anyways, I think we're gonna go on an expedition later this afternoon, but we're still just floating through this amazing sheets of ice, and you just get such incredible colors and such just a dramatic landscape. So yeah, we're just gonna keep watching ice. Guys, there's a couple walruses just off the front of the boat, probably about a kilometer away still, but we're going to try to get up nice and close and view them on the ice here. So let's see how close we can get. That was an amazing walrus sighting. So cool just seeing both of them on the ice there, seeing them swim around a little bit. And then we've come probably about half a mile off the coast of one of the islands here, and we've dropped anchor, and we're ready for this afternoon's expedition. And there are some people that are going to take a Zodiac and cruise along the coast here, but you can pay a little extra and do some kayaking and get out on the water and have a cool experience kayaking in this polar Arctic water. So we got to go put all of our suits on and head out on the kayaks for a couple hours. We've just come down to the mudroom here, and we've put on these funky little space suits that are going to keep us dry out on the water, and we're going to head out to the kayaks.
This is an island right here. So if we launch right in this area here, we're gonna paddle in and amongst there, all that ice. Luis is gonna stay nice and close to us. He's probably actually gonna lead the way with the Zodiac, scouting to make sure there's no apex predators kicking around. We're gonna circumnavigate this island hopefully and end up around that archipelago over there, which sounds super badass.
Beautiful. We just kayaked out to the land here and we have these giant black rocks covered in ice, and we've been kayaking through some of the ice, and it's just a really unique experience to be out here, and it's just a lot more quiet and still than the Zodiac, and you can get closer to shore, and yeah, just really beautiful. And even we have these birds flying by and you can hear them fluttering because it's just so quiet and still out here on the polar water.
The birds that we're listening to above us right now, they're Arctic terns. These Arctic terns have a bat-like wing structure, and they have one of the longest migrations out of any animal on the planet. They chase perpetual summers. They go from the Arctic region in the high boreal Arctic breeding grounds, and they'll pinball their way down to Antarctica, usually traveling up to anywhere to 40 to 60,000 kilometers a year.
We've been kayaking for probably about an hour and a half so far, and it's just been beautiful. It's been really fun kayaking through all of these little sheets of ice, and we stopped for a little bit and you could just hear the Arctic birds chirping in the background, and yeah, it's just been a beautiful, peaceful activity out here. We've just pulled into this little cove here, and we were looking at some of the ice, and then way off in the distance we can see an Arctic fox. I don't know if you'll be able to see it well on this tiny little camera, but it's really cool to see him just leaping through the ice way over there. We just finished up our kayaking trip, going around some of the sea ice here and kayaking around some of the islands. We actually went pretty far. We kayaked about 2 hours, and again, getting up close to the birds, and just it was so quiet and still out in the kayaks, and weaving through some of the ice and getting really close to it was super beautiful. So it's about 6:30, and so I think we're just gonna kind of hang out here on the boat the rest of the evening. There's lots of fun things to do on the boat here, but that was it for today's expedition. But yeah, really cool way to see the Arctic region here, just being out on the water, powering our way through. So we'll see you guys tomorrow on our next expedition here. Good morning, guys. It is our third day on the expedition cruise here, and we've just come to these southeastern islands of Svalbard, and we're just in this little bay in front of the island called Edge Boya, and we just have these beautiful streaky mountains off here. We have the fog just falling over the mountains there, and we have some people out on the Zodiacs here doing some wildlife scouting for us, and the plan is to head to one of these islands and do a land expedition this morning. So we'll take the Zodiacs out and actually get to walk around on the islands a bit and hopefully see some wildlife. It's a place that's known to have some walruses. So yeah, they're out there scouting for us now, and we should be suiting up and getting in the Zodiacs probably in the next 10-15 minutes. We have just done our first Arctic landing. We took the Zodiac out here. We're on this little peninsula, and just right there we have a whole bunch of walrus, and we're going to do a little walking expedition, get close to them. And again, we're just surrounded by these beautiful mountains, and you have the mist just rolling right through some of the snow-capped peaks. Really beautiful. And yeah, my first time stepping on Arctic land. That was fascinating, just observing the group of walruses there, and then really cool to see these reindeers and just epic backdrops everywhere we look. And we're kind of on this peninsula, so we're surrounded by water, and you just have snow-capped peaks everywhere and these snow glaciers that are just streaking down the mountains. And then after observing the walruses, we're allowed to just kind of walk around the Arctic ground here, and there's some reindeer horns here and just beautiful flowers. It's like these bright purple Arctic flowers that are on the ground here. So it's just really fascinating to just see this polar Arctic land here. So we probably have about 15-20 minutes just kind of wander here, get some more photos of the landscapes before we head back on the Zodiac and back to the ship.
Abandon up and join us with your cameras and binoculars on deck 8 forward.
It's about 2 p.m. here, and they just saw a polar bear off to the right front of the ship here, I think swimming in some of the water. So they've canceled all the discussions for the next hour or so, and we're going to go up onto the top deck and see if we can spot this polar bear in the water. So pretty exciting. The ship's pretty excited right now. So let's head up there and see if we can find it. got a confirmed sighting of the polar bear. It was really hard to see. It was still really far away, and probably didn't even get a picture of it because it was so far, but it was on these little islands, these black islands. They're just right in the middle of the water here, and we saw him walk across the snow into the water. So he's swimming now, but hopefully maybe he's either swimming towards us and we might slowly work our way towards where he is. But yeah, very far, but definitely saw him. So we waited about 10-15 minutes or so. The polar bear swam from that island and came up to this closer one that's right in front of the boat, probably still a good quarter-mile away, but you're able to see him. He was walking along some of the black rocks there, so you could really see him moving there.
Walks swiftly down to the shore, sits down, and somebody might have seen he opens his mouth and he starts moving his tongue up and down, almost like he's licking the air. And what he's doing there is he's collecting ear samples because it might smell whales or like a dead whale or a dead carcass that's washed up. And they know that also there's eggs there. Because this polar bear, you can come in there, it'll clean out the entire island because there's such a good sense of smell, such a systematic way of working.
Alright guys, that was a great viewing of the polar bear. He came up onto the island, he was walking around the black rocks, so you just got this amazing contrast of the polar bear. So really good viewing, and then he went down the other hill, and then a second polar bear came out from around the corner, so we actually got to see 2 polar bears here.
I don't think that bear necessarily understood how big the other one was. So he comes in, sees it, and he goes, "No, I'm out," pretty quickly. Goes back. The big one doesn't seem to mind at first. There's a little bit back and forth. And then suddenly, you see the small one running like a bat out of hell down the beach. And then a few minutes later, you see the other one coming slightly slower, but in a very determined direction towards him.
That was an incredible first polar bear sighting, and not only did we see the first one, but then that second one came out, and there was one point where they were kind of chasing each other across the ice, and it was just amazing to see. And we probably spent about an hour and a half out here on the deck just watching the polar bears. And yeah, so hopefully we'll see more wildlife, more polar bears. You never know when or where we might find them, but I'll let you guys know if we see any more. And this afternoon, again, it's just an afternoon on the ship. There's some educational briefings. If we see anything else, I'll let you know, but I'll probably see you on the next expedition tomorrow. So we'll see you then. Good afternoon, guys. It is our 4th day on the expedition cruise here, and it was a long, tumultuous night. We came from that eastern island back to the mainland of Spitsbergen, and we've come into this little channel between these two ranges of mountains, but it was a very rocky sea with low visibility, so it was a pretty rough night. We weren't able to do any of the activities, and we just kind of chilled on the boat there. We did go through a really cool ice field in the middle of the night. That was really beautiful, just these white ice sheets that kept going on and on. But it looks like it's clearing up this afternoon, and they're starting to put the Zodiacs out in the water, doing some scouting along the shoreline, making sure there's no polar bears, because the plan is to do a Zodiac landing this afternoon along the shore of these mountains over here. So should be pretty cool, and hopefully the weather will cooperate.
Scout team is splitting on land to head in either direction to be able to scout the whole area. There's a load of reindeer all over the land, so we're just basically making sure that everything is actually a reindeer and not a polar bear or anything else. There's a few that are laid down that's slightly out of scope, so we're keeping an eye on them. And then there's a huddle of walrus over this way, 5 or 6 of them just behind this little hut here, where you see the orange navigational markers.
I've just spent the last hour or so in the captain's bridge there, where they're scouting with binoculars to see if there's any wildlife out there, or mostly any polar bears that we'd have to worry about within a 4-mile radius of the landing site. But they said we're all clear for the landing here, so we're gonna be taking the Zodiacs just across this little beach here and do another Arctic landing.
So this point is part of a bigger island. It's called Prince Charles Foreland. That was named after Prince Charles, Dutch explorer ships that came here first in 1596. So just behind you can see some beautiful mountains. We have a more alpine terrain. Highest mountain here is called Monaco Fjords, after the Duke of Monaco.
We have just completed our second Arctic landing here, and we're right along that beach. There's a lot of driftwood, and we have these beautiful snow-capped mountains all around us. And then there's some reindeer way off in the distance, a little lake here, and we're gonna walk towards some walrus that are right along the shore here. So we just went over to the shore there, where there were about 4 walruses kind of puddled up. They were mostly sleeping, so there wasn't too much movement, but we were only 30 meters away, so you could get a little bit closer look at their tusks and some of the whiskers on them. But you were just right along the coast here, and there was like another old shelter from some of the hunters that used to hunt whales here, and we had some old whale bones right along the sandy beach and a lot of this driftwood. So really cool, and then just surrounded by these epic snow-capped mountains and water, and then the ship off in the distance. So anyways, kind of short Arctic landing. We only had about an hour here because we have some other things that we're going to do this afternoon on the boat. So I think we're going to head back. We have a little bit more time to just chill here before getting the Zodiac back to the boat.
A pleasure and honor to serve you as your captain, and I hope we'll have an opportunity to welcome you once more. Safe travels until we meet again, cheers.
Good morning, guys. We've just come back down the western coast of Spitsbergen and into the little bay where Longyearbyen is, and that concludes our first week on the boat here with Albatross Expeditions and the Follow the Fro tour, and an incredible week. Just so fascinating. The sun never set through the whole evening. The sky would just be bright blue, and you'd just be surrounded by this beautiful, dreamy landscape of snow-capped peaks, icy blue water, going through ice fields, and always keeping our eye out along the coastline for wildlife. You never knew if you were going to see some walrus or polar bears, and even as we were floating along, just having all of the Arctic birds that were just coasting along with us was just so beautiful. And just an incredible expedition. It was really cool to see how the expedition actually works. Going to the bridge, see how the scouters did their scout to make sure there was no polar bears and see some of the wildlife, and then taking the Zodiacs out to do some of the landings and cruising through some of the ice and kayaking. Just lots of really incredible, unique experiences that we were able to have on the 5 days here, and really fun doing it with Follow the Fro, because having a group of 10 people to share all of the memories and experiences with and have people to hang out with on the boat was just really fun to make these wild memories with on the boat. So that's it for our first week here. We have just a day off in Longyearbyen. I'm probably just gonna walk around town a little bit, just be on solid land, because it's been a rocky ship for the last 5 days. And then we're gonna come back on the boat here, and we're gonna do another 5-day tour with Ocean Albatross. We're gonna go up the west coast and do a northern route, checking out a few more islands, seeing some more glacial ice. So that'll be the next video, and I'm excited to have an extra 5 days here to just have more opportunity to see wildlife and more opportunity to see some of these really unique landscapes and do a couple of the excursions and the expeditions. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys get a chance to make it to Svalbard and see this landscape for yourself. So I'll see you guys next time.